Welcome to First Thursday. Corey Williams, Executive Director of Sustainable Tulsa, and thrilled to have you joining us today. It's our first online event and our first Thursday online as well. And we hope that you all are staying healthy and safe out there and following best practices and staying home as much as you can and taking care of yourself and your family. So thank you again for joining us. And again, we're excited to be able to share with you today, which is going to be Tulsa Parks, how to stay safe and stay active. Before we get started, I do want to thank our many sponsors: Adamantine Energy, American Waste Control, Cavanta, Grog Screen Barn, the Met, One Oak, Save Our Streams, Spirit Air Systems, TCC, Center for Creativity, PSO, and PSO Win Choice for sponsoring today's program. If you can do a virtual clap for them, that would be great. We do appreciate their support, and that's how we're able to, at this point, continue this program. I want to also give a thanks to the many board members that are joining us today. Give a wave if you can. So we have, that's joined, obvious, Dr. John Schumann will be with us as well in the program. We have Pam Taylor, Matt Newman, Aaron Larder, Stephanie Cameron, Mike Lemus, and there may be a couple others that are joining us a little later, Carrie Rowland. So thank my board, and in particular right now, for their leadership. It's a challenging time for everyone, and I really appreciate their support and guidance right now. And on that note, and I also want to thank my team, Megan Hurley, Jill Maud, and Sarah Hicks for helping today and being nimble to respond to this new environment right now that we're in. And again, we're thinking about all of you, and we want to hear from you. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, and one of our goals and our commitment is to stay committed to what bringing you the programs we committed to as best as we can in this environment, and also just staying connected with you and being that opportunity to stay engaged and have a community to relate with, and specifically not just staying related and connected, but around sustainability as well. And in light of that, we're looking to launch a program here in the next month on kind of what are those things that you're looking for, your needs right now in this environment as it relates to sustainability, as it relates to saving on that bottom line, saving money right now, also how to stay healthy and safe, as well as how to help protect the shared natural resources that we all enjoy, so that people, profit, planet goal for our community. So we are looking at launching something. Megan is working on that probably right this second, even though you see her right there. But we are working on that. And so we want to hear from you. So send us a note at info@sustainabletulsainc.org, and we'll send that out on the chat as well. But send us your comments, what you're needing right now. What are some of the things that would help you as it relates to, living in this new environment that we're in right now, along with wanting to live a more sustainable, active life. And so we want to get that information out and keep you all connected with that. So, we are a small nonprofit, and we do appreciate any donation or support you're able to share with us to keep our programs going and to reach you with the things that you need. You can make any donation size is appreciated. So you could make a donation on our homepage. There's a donate button, and we appreciate any support you can offer today. We want to stay and be a vital organization for you and for this community. So thank you for considering that. So we're about to start this amazing program with Anna America. I'm so thankful. She was very quick to respond and be available for us. And it's such a relevant time as people are, in my neighborhood, I see more neighbors out walking and longer walks. And actually, I notice that people are more friendly and saying hello more at a distance. And so I think getting out is proven to be something really important right now. And so we're just thrilled to have Anna with us today to be able to kind of share best practices and opportunities and kind of what the status is with the parks. And of course, thankful to have Dr. John Schumann with us as well today to answer some of more, maybe some of those medical questions or some of those best practices as he can. So I'd like to introduce Anna, and I've known Anna for, I think, 3 decades now. It's been that makes us very young.
Exactly.
And it's been honored to know her and to watch her. She just is an incredible community servant and has done so much for Tulsa already. And I see that she will continue. Anna has been helping to make Tulsa a better place to raise your families and to work toward that goal for decades, both professionally and personal life. On a side note, when we lived in the same neighborhood, she was constantly posting opportunities, how to connect and support local businesses, even way back then. So I remember you always had great tips, and also how to keep your kids engaged in the summer. Always good tips. But Anna has, again, professionally and personally, has been a servant to our community. She's a graduate of University of Tulsa, and she started her professional career as a newspaper reporter with Tulsa Tribune. And where among other beats she covered was City Hall and the U.S. Capitol. She worked as a journalist for several different publications, and then started work for the city of Tulsa, where she worked in marketing and communications. First for Public Works Department and then the Parks Department, sparking a lifetime love for parks and the role that she came in shaping in this community. Just another little bit of background about her. She's moved on to the nonprofit world. She's helped as executive director of great nonprofits like Up With Trees, Communities in Schools, and Child Abuse Network. And during this time, she also has been served on the Tulsa School Board, and of course was a city councilor. She stepped down as a city councilor in 2018, and in August when Mayor G.T. Bynum asked her to accept the role of Parks Director, and now she's here directing that for us. So we're thrilled to have you, Anna, and we thank you so much for your service, and we're eager to hear what you have to say and to help us navigate and this opportunity of our Tulsa Parks. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Corey. It's always great to speak to this group. So even when I can't see you all and be there in person, it's a pleasure to participate with something that's made such a difference in Tulsa as Sustainable Tulsa, and especially on Earth Month. So happy Earth Month to everybody. I know we'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary of Earth Day this year, so which is kind of a big deal, actually. So good time for the business that you're in and the business that I'm in, I think, to remember some of those things. And as you said, I thought, and I know everybody will give us some leeway today since it's everybody's first time doing it this way. So forgive us in advance if we fumble through some of this. But from my standpoint, I'm looking at this as kind of a more casual conversation among friends here. So as we do some of the things, but we'll talk some about what parks have been doing in response to the COVID-19 crisis, and how as you said, how we can all continue to stay active and have a good time while we're complying with the city's safer at home order to keep ourselves and our community and the people we care about around us all safe and healthy. And you mentioned it, it's been interesting. You maybe have seen the evolution from social distancing. A lot of people are now trying to use the phrase physical distancing because we want that physical space, but we want to make sure we keep the social connections. So I thought we talk about the Sasquatch in the room here that some of you may have seen. There's been a lot of social media posting. Probably our best mascot right now for what we're doing here, the Sasquatch who's been sighted at Turkey Mountain and Bales Park and some other places, and I think maybe become our mascot for what we're asking everybody to do, to get out, enjoy these spaces, be active, but stay separate from other people. So make sure to, if you see them, get a picture, post it, because they've been very popular. Now, go back and talk about the COVID-19 and kind of what we've done. Like everybody, it's kind of amazing now. You look back just a couple of weeks ago and something that seemed completely absurd, frankly, when we first started talking about some of these things, and it becomes not just your new reality, but something we all just completely adopt. So the Parks Department, like everybody else, has evolved over the past few weeks. It feels like months ago, but it was just a couple weeks ago, right before spring break, where we really started seeing this come up as an issue. So the very first thing we did was start canceling programming that was geared towards seniors, since they've been deemed more vulnerable. We got a ton of pushback. There wasn't much happening officially at that point. We got a ton of pushback from people when we started doing that. And then we went out, we started, the mayor came out, we eliminated the larger events. So we eliminated all of our programming and our events. We closed all of our buildings, the community centers, the nature center. At the same time, all the museums and other attractions in town started closing. Then you see this sign, I assume everybody can see some of these same things. Went out and the mayor did an executive order, and I'm gonna look up here. Yeah, this is the first, so we first put up on the right, or at least on my screen on the right, this sign warning people, we're not sanitizing all the playgrounds, we can't get out here, follow these rules, kind of use at your own risk, but use some common sense. As we evolved within a few days after that, we started realizing that we still felt that people were at risk. So we went back in, closed all of the park amenities. So we closed all of the playgrounds, all of the sports courts, the dog parks, the skate parks. And one thing I want to point out, and I think most of you know this, in the city of Tulsa, we have 3 public park systems. City Parks, which is by far the largest, but then we also have river parks and Tulsa County Parks. And we have worked very much collaboratively. So the 3 directors of those, we text each other almost every day. Okay, how are you guys handling this? How are you handling that? Because we knew it was important that we have a consistent message. So we've all used our own signage, but we have been consistently throughout this trying to work together. So we all closed playgrounds together. In Tulsa Public Schools also closed all their playgrounds. And as you can see, we put out signs that letting people know as we've evolved, closing amenities. And then this past weekend, when the mayor, the furthest step that we've taken, the safer at home, which basically saying all of us should be staying home unless you're working in essential business or you're performing a function that's essential, going out and getting food or materials you need for your home or medical care. And one of the things that was included in that, which is I think says a lot about parks and green space and the role they play in our community, but one of the things that was deemed essential up there with food and medical care was the ability to go out and have outdoor activities such as walking, jogging, hiking, biking, etc. And that was considered something essential to maintain health and wellness for our community. So it's important. There's a lot of confusion. Some people think that we have closed all the parks. We saw a lot of that on panic on social media. We have not closed the parks. We have not closed the trails. In all of those park systems across the city, the green space, the open space, the urban nature spaces that we have in a couple of different locations, the trails, those are all open. We encourage and want people to get out and use them. The same precautions that you should be using anywhere. If you're going to the grocery store or if you are walking around the block, we want you to use when you go to a park as well. So if you are sick, if you've been exposed, anyone in your household's been exposed to anyone who we know is sick, if you have symptoms, stay home. Don't go anywhere. Don't go to the grocery store. You know, there are a lot of services in Tulsa that will help you get food out, but don't go to the park. Don't think because you're out there in an open space. There's been some spot instances, and John may have better information about this later, but you know, where people who've been pretty far away from each other. There was a choir where they thought, and they had in Washington, a big outbreak. The act of singing could expel, they believe, the COVID virus farther away. So if you're running down a trail and you think you're safe and you're keeping your own safe, but you're panting as you run, you could be expelling that and endangering other people. So just don't come out if you're sick. Don't use the park amenities, period. And, you know, we put Tulsa Parks, we have 94 playgrounds. We went out and put caution tape up around all of them. Many of those were pulled down by the next day, and we knew that would happen. We knew it wasn't really going to keep you off the playground. This is the playground closed, that's River Parks Park. You know, you can go up there past that sign. You can pull that off. You can pull down that fencing. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't let your kids do it. Don't use those amenities. You can get cited, and they've given quite a few citations already. And if you persistently disobey it, you know, police can arrest you. And they're being pretty aggressive about this because they understand that somebody is not just endangering themselves when they ignore these rules, they're endangering the entire community. So, you know, just really respect that. When you're in a trail, and these are, the yellow sign is what River Parks is using. That blue sign is what Tulsa County, and I don't know if we have our sign in here. Ashley Bath, who is our marketing person, made our sign, so of course it's awesome. But we've got those signs too, and those are going to be along any of the more popular trails. It's to remind you when you're out there, it's great, walk, bike, do all those things, but keep your space. If you are, River Parks is our most popular and really our best trail, but in our trails in Tulsa, we've got a great trail system. Almost no place do they accommodate people passing each other and maintaining that 6 foot distance, minimum 6 foot distance. So be mindful of that. If you are coming across someone on the trail, one or both, you step off the trail. I mean, give each other that space. You're not going to offend anybody. No one's feelings are going to get hurt. I think people will see it as a sign of caring. So do it. If you're running or biking and you are coming up and you're going to pass someone, let them know you're coming. And again, step off the trail, go around, do what you need to do to make sure you give them that space. And no groups. And this is true. And I don't think a lot of people are getting this. It's something we've had a real issue with. No groups, and this is public or private. I mean, if you're in violation of the executive order, if you have a group of people in your home for a social gathering. So you are to, unless you're doing essential work or you're doing one of those functions like going to a grocery store or doing something else, you should not be getting in groups of people at all outside of your household. And just FYI, if you're using the parks, all of us have closed all of our public bathrooms. Again, from the sanitation aspect, we just can't keep those. You know, you basically have to walk behind people and keep them clean. And so all the bathrooms, all the water faucets, all of those things are not being used. So if you go to a park, which I hope you do, bring your own water, bring, you know, anything that you need to use, bring with you. Don't let anybody else touch it, and take it home with you or dispose of it properly. And you've seen some of the signs and things we do. The executive order just yesterday was extended through April 30th. So that's what we're looking at. I'm already having people ask, and I know we all ask each other and wonder about when we'll get through this. The modeling I've seen, and again, John may have better information, but is looking at the end of May, you know, the peak in Tulsa coming end of May, beginning of June, and obviously a lot of factors. The better we are at doing all of this physical distancing, the better that we will be, I think, in getting through this. But I consider, and I don't say this because he's my boss, because I'm not compelled to say nice things about my boss unless I mean it, but we are incredibly lucky to have G.T. Bynum as mayor right now. I think he's done a really great job of leading us through this, and I know he is working very, very closely with the health department. We've got strong leadership in the health department, and we're not going to start reopening things, parks or anything else, until all of them are really comfortable that that is the safe and appropriate thing to do for our citizens. So one thing that to me at least has been a real silver lining through all of this is that parks, not just in Tulsa, but almost everywhere and across the country, parks have been deemed essential. And of course, I would tell you that anytime. And I know a lot of people in Sustainable Tulsa would agree with that. But it's unfortunately taken this crisis, I think, to really help bring that into focus, just how invaluable the green space and the parks are in our community. I think we all would, you know, if you go around and ask Tulsans in general, of course, police, fire, water, and sewer, those things are essential. But I think it's really highlighting that what we do, that this green space, this nature space, is an essential service in this community, in any healthy city. And we've got to, you know, I hope when we get through this, we remember that and we continue to treat them that way. So I want to talk a little bit, well, and I was thinking about this the other day, but I wanted to say that, you know, as bad as this has been, and as bad as it will get, and I think it would be naive of us to say it's not bad, to think about how much worse it would be if we did not have access to this green space and these trails and these um, um, beauty and all of the opportunities we have in our parks. So, you know, that's going to be part of what is helping us and what will continue to help us endure this. And so, you know, when I come knocking in the future, reminding you to remember to fund your parks and fund your green space and fund your nature space, think back to how they helped all of us get through all of this time. So I want to talk about some of the good things that you can do, that we want you to do. I mentioned trails. Probably our best trail, most popular trail, the one everybody's most familiar with in Tulsa, River Parks. Obviously, River Parks is open. It's a great trail. My favorite trail that I use a lot is the Little Fortune Park, which is a county park, but it's, you know, it belongs to all of us in Tulsa. And I love that trail. It's close to my house. One challenge you might find, because those are popular and because so many other things are off the table right now, some of the trails are getting, that's what prompted us to do these signs, some of the trails are getting really crowded. So use some common sense. If you are going out and going to bike, ride, walk, and you want to use one of those great trails, try to find times, and I don't know exactly what that is right now, frankly, because our schedules are all so different, but make sure that if you get out there, if you pull up to River Parks and it looks like it's going to be really crowded and you can't maintain that social distancing, don't go somewhere else, go another time. We've got lots of other great options. A couple of those this is a time for you to explore some places maybe you haven't been. This picture behind me, let's see if I can move the right way. This is, and if you haven't been there, first of all, shame on you. But second of all, go take advantage. So this is from Oxley Nature Center, which is awesome, and at Mohawk Park. So look at these lovely pictures from Oxley. So lots of opportunities out at Mohawk and at Oxley. 9 miles of trails at Oxley. A lot of them are muddy right now because there's been so much rain, but that just lets you see a different part of the ecosystem out there. They've got all kinds of animals and bugs and flowers and things. I believe that person in the one picture is fishing at Mohawk. Mohawk's got a ton of places where you can, you know, grab your kid, go out there, do some bonding with your kid, but while you're staying distant from everyone else, and, you know, give them an experience maybe that they haven't had. But there's a lot of disc golf if you're into disc golf. Disc golf is the one amenity we have kept open, and we've got disc golf at quite a few parks, including Mohawk, because it's done a lot by people by themselves, or people, you know, they take their own thing and they go. So a lot of people do it sort of in lieu of walking, but there's a lot of great things out there. We've got, if you haven't, the Mingo Valley Trail along 169, the Osage, which is beautiful, the newest trail in North Tulsa, Midland Valley, which you can connect to Riverside from downtown area. So get out and explore some of these. The Creek Trail, which goes largely along the Creek Turnpike, but hooks into one of our most popular parks, Hunter Park. Hunter's got disc golf. It's got a playground and a water playground and a shelter and some other things that are closed, but it's still got a lot of opportunity there to use the trail to do some fishing. It's got a fishing area. So, and then you can hook into that trail. You can either park at Hunter and access the trail, or you can connect to that trail from your neighborhood if you live in that part of town, or from somewhere else and then visit Hunter as a little excursion there. There are things, you know, for some people, you can't get out of your house. Maybe you're in a stage where you're being quarantined. If you come back from certain parts of the country, for example, on a visit under the governor's executive order, you are to remain quarantined at home. So you should not be going out to a park or some things if you're in one of those modes. But there's still a lot you can do in your own home, in your own yard, to stay active. We just celebrated in Oklahoma Arbor Week last week, and the National Arbor Day is coming up. So plant a tree. You can order a lot of these things, trees and other plants, online. I've ordered quite a few things and had them shipped to my home. A lot of the grocery stores and places where you're going to do your essential business right now will have some plants now. So even if they're not big on that, normally grab them. I planted 3 trees in my yard, and as Corey mentioned, I spent years with trees, so it's near and dear to my heart. But it was pretty interesting for me personally. I got these trees because I was at Walmart getting essential things, and they had marked them down because I guess nobody was going to plant trees. So I grabbed a couple. And planting a tree is probably other than having a kid, it's the single greatest act of optimism and faith and hope that you can do. And, you know, we've all heard that saying. I mean, you're planting a tree for somebody else to sit under the shade of that tree. And so I was not feeling particularly optimistic and hopeful and faithful when I got those trees. And it was kind of like taking vitamins. It was like, I'm going to do this thing that is good for me. And it is amazing how much it made me remember all those feelings. So I can't, any time of year that the weather permits, I'm a big advocate of that, but man, it's a great time to do it. Find a way, you can go online, order something, plant a red bud, do something in your yard to do that. You can also, I mean, it's a great time to garden. In the same thing, you can order a lot of things online. You can grab them. A lot of the stores now will have some plants. I planted a couple of tomato plants this weekend. Get you exercise, get you outside, get you in the sun. Makes you a little bit more sustainable if you can grow some of your own food. So you can do some of those. There are things that you can, and there's a lot of resources. We've got some of these linked to on the Tulsa Parks Facebook page, but you can find a ton of these things online for outdoor scavenger hunts. If you're one of the families that's got kids at home now, when you go to the park, to make it a little bit more interesting because they can't play on the playground, you can make this up yourself. I mean, it's easy, you know. Make a list of things you're going to find. We're going to look for a feather. We're going to look for a blue stone. We're going to look for a flower. We're going to look for a nut. And have your kids check those off a list, find those things, bring them home, and do a collage at home or something like that. There's a lot of those kinds of activities. We are doing, and a lot of organizations are doing that in Tulsa and around the community. We're doing some online programming. Again, this is all linked through the Tulsa Parks Facebook page. We did, for example, we've got a hugely popular Zumba instructor who teaches at Waterworks and some other places. She went into an empty gym and did the Zumba class on her own. And I don't remember, I mean, the first day we had 2,500 views. So there are a lot of people doing it. And for me, this was great because I've been wanting to do Zumba for a while. And I thought, man, all these people know what they're doing. And I don't want to go to this class and look like an idiot and, you know, be fumbling behind everybody. So now I have the opportunity to practice Zumba at home without looking foolish, but nobody sees me, luckily. And so by the time we get back, I'm going to be pro enough at Zumba that I'll go do it. But there is all kinds of fitness, yoga. We are doing one of the really cool things, I think, and there's, again, lots of these, but Waterworks, again, it's another, it's our Waterworks Art Center, one of our community centers. And if you haven't experienced that, you need to. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. Lots of really great art classes there. They're doing a lot of online tutorials and just informational things about different arts and crafts that you can do at home, you can do with your kids and things like that. So there's a lot of different opportunities, and we're going to be working on a lot more programming. We mentioned earlier this idea that you want to, while we're doing this physical distancing, to keep those connections. And we've probably all seen some of these things, you know, drive-by birthday parties or different things. There's ways that we can make that connection, show each other that we are in this together. I think Corey mentioned earlier, and it's something I've seen as well. I don't know if any of you have ever driven in a small town, and especially if you live in a small town, you drive in a small town, and when you pass somebody in your car, people like kind of salute each other. There's this acknowledgement of each other that we don't do in a big city. I'm now seeing that when I walk in my neighborhood, if somebody crosses on the other side of the street, there's kind of this wave to each other. And I think people are doing that on trails is as we keep ourselves more physically separate, it's almost highlighting the ways we are connected. So some of the things that people are doing that have been pretty cool that I've seen. And again, especially if you've got kids at home, but if you don't let it stop you. I mean, you can get out and do some of this yourself. But Chalk the Walk, which is a pretty fun, people are writing messages. If you're lucky enough to be in a neighborhood that's got a sidewalk in front of your house like I am, write something positive and affirming on your sidewalk so the next person who walks by sees it, or on your driveway. I will give you permission if you ensure, if you're out there with your kids and you're on a City of Tulsa Parks trail, and nobody's around, you can do it without. Let your kids sit down and make a happy face or a heart or something that's a positive message to the next person who walks by. We'd love to see that. A lot of people, and this is around the country, we're doing in Tulsa, decorating the outside of your house. So you might have seen the kind of light up Tulsa that the mayor had launched, just putting a string of Christmas lights around a tree in his front yard. I've done it. We've done it at a lot of the centers. A lot of people doing it. Again, it's just a way to I mean, it's symbolic and while it's a real thing that we can, you look out there and you see and you remember, it feels lonely sometimes, especially for the people who maybe do live by themselves, but you sit out there and realize, you are connected to a whole lot of people in this community. There've been a lot of scavenger hunt type things. So, and some of these, it's tough in a city as far flung as Tulsa for us to do this as a city as a whole. But within your neighborhood, either through Nextdoor or Facebook groups or whatever you have in your neighborhood, these things like teddy bear hunts or wild animal hunts, safari hunts, encourage people in that neighborhood to put a teddy bear, is what a lot of people are doing, or any kind of animal in your front window or in your yard. And then as people walk around that neighborhood with kids, the kids can kind of see how many different animals they can find as they go through the neighborhood. So again, it's just it's just kind of a fun way for us to remember that we're connected to each other. There are a lot of pages. You see up there some of the things that we have. Those are the links to all of our program pages. There are Megan, I think, is the one who launched the Be Good, Do Good Facebook. A lot of ways to connect and see ideas and programs, and sometimes just attaboys or hang in there's that we can get from each other. And that stuff is crucially important. I'm just going to throw in here and mention, because as you see up there, we are the City of Tulsa webpage. If you're looking for any of the COVID-19 stuff, they've got a ton of links and things there. But the real lead in all of this is the Tulsa Health Department. So any and all of this information, and as things change, and they change rapidly, they've been very good about updating that, about what the new executive orders are, what things you can and can't do. So I would really encourage everyone to bookmark those pages, check them regularly. And you see my email there. Feel free at any point to reach out to me directly. So I want to talk a little bit just past COVID, just a few things that are going on in parks in general, and kind of what we're hoping when we get past some of this, what we'll be focusing on. So first of all, for me and kind of for the department as a whole, as it turns out, because when you're a director, that's how it works sometimes, but kind of have really been focusing on 3 goals for our department and for our community. Number one, and this is by far kind of the overarching goal for us, and that drives everything else, but that I want every Tulsan, I don't care where you live in the city, every Tulsan should be able to walk to a safe, accessible, high quality park in their neighborhood. And for me personally, when I think about what makes a high quality park, it needs to have, and this is a small neighborhood pocket park or a big regional park. Every one of them should have, on some scale, a place for people to play and be active, a place for people to enjoy nature and beauty, and a place for people to gather. So we really want to focus on making sure we're giving that to everyone. My second primary goal, and I think the last time I spoke to Sustainable Tulsa, I talked about how badly we had done at taking care of our facilities, and a lot of you have seen that, but we have had decades of underfunding and under-supporting parks in Tulsa, and so we've had leaking buildings and dilapidated playgrounds and things like that. So it's a real focus for us to do a much better job of taking care of the existing amenities we have. And then 3, and this is another area that I think has really waned over the years, but is providing engaging programming that gets people using those parks. We went through a time, I think, not just in Tulsa, but across the country, whereas people were making cuts and things, they decided you didn't have to have community centers, you didn't have to have programming, and we see a real drop off in usage with those things. So we're really going to be focusing on how can we do more to not just put a great amenity there, but to recognize, you can put a wonderful park in a neighborhood, but if people don't feel safe getting to it, or they can't get to it because you don't have good access to it, it doesn't benefit them. Or if you don't do things that draw and attract them to that park, particularly as a community, it doesn't have the impact it could. So we'll be focusing on those. Now, one of the key ways we had planned to be doing that, and we are having to re-engineer and kind of adjust the schedule right now, I probably most of you remember that we passed Improve Our Tulsa last fall, had $30 million in there for parks, which is awesome. One of the things that I committed to do as part of that was to do a very robust community engagement. We had planned to go out and have a series of 10 to 12 meetings across the community and neighborhoods and meet with neighborhood groups and do lots of that to really give people the chance to say, hey, what do you need from parks? What's going to make it so your neighborhood park is that park that provides you places to play and places to gather and all of that. So we're having to kind of retool and think about how we can do that in this new environment. And part of it may just be delaying it for a few months. But as part of that, to come back and with a real good plan on how to spend that money. But we are also redoing the parks master plan. So again, the timing is changing and the methodology is changing a little bit, but our hope is over this year that we'll have that combination of that very robust input from the community, along with a lot of data and a lot of information about what we have learned, nationally about what can make parks more effective for people, so that we can, when we spend that $30 million, and as we look at future investments, we're really doing that in places that have the biggest impact on the community. Now, I know you guys don't need to be sold on the value of parks, but in the context of talking about COVID and all of that, I wanted to just briefly cite a few things, and you guys have probably seen all this stuff many times, but it doesn't hurt to hear them again about, parks are awesome, they're beautiful, they're fun, all of that. But they're serious business too. I mean, there's a huge financial benefit to a community from parks. They do all kinds of things, from reduce crime and build community support and all that. But one of the real most obvious and most direct, and there's a ton of data around this, is parks make us healthier. I mean, they make us healthier in a ton of ways. And it's one of the reasons, the primary reason why they are deemed an essential service. So just a couple of things I'm going to cite here. There were some studies, this is the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, that, and some of it seems common sense, but you get data to back up your common sense, and it's easier to get support for it sometimes, that creation of or enhanced access to places for physical activity produced a 48.4% increase in the frequency of physical activity. You can access to parks and green space and places to exercise results in a 5.1% median increase in aerobic capacity, increase in weight loss, reduction in body fat, improvement in flexibility, and almost all of these other measures. We've looked at certain groups, two of the groups that are hardest for everybody to reach: adolescent girls and seniors. Both groups that access to trails, access to park amenities, you can see very marked increase in activity, and then with the correlating impact on obesity, on other things. The number one killer when we're looking at health outcomes I think it's just about everywhere, it's nationally, we are worse in Tulsa than national, and we are worse in the parts of town that have lower health outcomes, are heart disease. I mean, it's a huge killer. One of the most direct correlations that you can get to have an impact on heart disease, and heart disease, poor outcomes from heart disease, including death, are exercise, increased physical activity. So, parks are this is CDC numbers, only 25%. It's pretty stunning when you think about this, but only 25%. So, 1 out of 4 adult Americans engage in recommended levels of physical activity, and almost a third engage in no leisure time physical activity. So, I mean, there's a huge gap there of trying to get people access to parks and trails and all of those things. And the thing that we know is investing in parks and rec. I mean, we spend, I don't remember what year this is from, but approximately $147 billion direct and indirect costs related to obesity across America annually. And, you can see in a community with as little as $10 a year per capita, increased amounts of physical activity, and it's just one of the most direct and cost-effective ways to begin to curtail those extreme expenditures that we're having to do on obesity and other health issues. And you can't forget mental health. And again, I know you guys have probably seen these, all kinds of things. People, if they're in the hospital, they heal faster if they can see trees out their window and things like that. But there was a study in Netherlands, and people who lived in residential areas, if they had, where they measured, you know, the most green to the least green. And if you were in the areas with the least access to green space and parks, they were 44% higher rate of physician diagnosed, not self-diagnosed, but physician diagnosed anxiety disorders, 30% higher rate of depression. So, you know, even in good times, there's a direct tie to anxiety and depression and stress when you have access to green space and parks. And I think they're all much more valuable now. So that is probably a good segue, since we got Dr. John Schumann here, who is the president of OU Tulsa, to maybe, you know, he might want to address some of the things more specific to that and why this stuff matters to us, and you know, any other thoughts here. I think John's going to maybe talk a little bit, and then we're going to be happy to answer questions. Is that right, Corey?
Yes,
Or,
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Anna, so much great information, and definitely want to follow up on some of that data. But to your point, a great segue when it comes to mental health, and just to, you know, John is just such a great resource. Dr. Schumann is such a great resource for us in our community, and I'm excited that he's here to visit with us. Also, I hope he plugs his Medical Mondays, because it's another great resource for all kinds of things to learn about health. But John, Dr. John Sherman, do you have some words of wisdom for us when it comes to the mental health of being out and about, or any other kinds of best practices as we're navigating the parks?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Words of wisdom. Well, you know, we're making it up as we go along, to be quite honest, but it's a very scary time. The biggest thing is the uncertainty that we're all dealing with, you know, whether it's the healthcare community, the education community, the city community, city parks community, or the economy as a whole. I mean, that's why the markets are plummeting, is because of all this uncertainty. Markets don't like uncertainty. The only words of wisdom that we can give are kind of the directives that we're living under, which is, and Anna touched on these all very well, which is, if you're sick, stay home. If you've traveled anywhere, basically, you know, isolate yourself for 14 days. I would say almost anywhere. I mean, certainly if you've been to a designated hotspot, but, you know, if you've traveled, or, you know, anyone that's been on a plane or a cruise definitely ought to be staying inside for 14 days. And, you know, our latest directives are, whether it's shelter in place or be at home, staying this 2 meters or 6 feet apart is really the only way we know to stop the transmission of the coronavirus, the novel coronavirus. So it's been a lifestyle change for everybody. We have a daughter in college who's home from college, who's living with us. And so the things we've been doing is doing a family walk every night. I saw a meme going around about the dog, like on top of the cabinets, trying to hide from the owner, saying, you know, enough walks already. But we've been doing more dog walks as kind of a collective activity. Definitely, I think bike riding is a good thing. Anything you can do to get out there and take advantage of the parks. Of course, trying to really stay wide of people, or have that extra courtesy of, if you're going to be passing them or going by them or steering clear of them. But that's really it. I mean, I'm really here just to answer questions if people have, but I think Anna did a great job. And I was thinking, just maybe, obviously I've only been on the board a short time, but I've been coming to these First Thursday events for a long time, but this one was really good. It was good to get that kind of Tulsa Parks 101. Even it shouldn't have taken a crisis. I know the original plan was to do it at Gathering Place, which was a great idea too. So.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, one of the things that has come across, I've seen people in the parks, and love to get both of your responses on this, is that I've seen groups kind of in a circle, you know, under 10, chatting with each other, trying to stay 6 feet apart, and just kind of, you know, gathering in the park. You know, are you recommending that kind of social mental health, to see your friends, getting outside?
It's no. I'll say no. First of all, because I think a couple of reasons. One, the mayor's order specifically prohibits that. It says no gatherings, public or private, of any size. You are, unless you are performing one of these other things, you know, that are allowed specifically. So, I mean, obviously, if you're in the grocery store, you may be in there with you know, 100 people in the store, who knows how many. But and you are not to be doing gathering of groups that are not part of your immediate household. Now, if your members, if you got 4 people in your house and you decide you're going to go down to the park, walk down to the park and sit there and have a picnic separately, you can do that, but you should not be meeting other people. I think so it's prohibited, so don't do it. But also, we all tend to. It's just the nature of things. I mean, you can say you're all staying 6 feet away, and then you start getting closer. The kids start running in between each other. We had somebody, and I had them shoot them out, who was leading an exercise class at one of our parks this week after the order had come into play. And they were trying to stay all separate. But I mean, again, we've seen, and John, you may have seen some of the stuff, but I mean, it's been pretty chilling to see some of these examples. I forget what country it was, but they've gone back in a country where they've gone back and traced, like, everybody here got it from this person. And there were people on a bus there, and they think that people who were like 6 rows away from this person got it on a bus. So well beyond the 6 foot range. And that choir story I mentioned from Washington, I mean, there were people there, they thought they were all practicing social distancing when they had that choir practice. They were already at that stage where they knew that was happening. And because of the nature of what they were doing, the speculation has been, because they were singing, that they could have been expelling particles well beyond. And as John said, the uncertainty here is there is no reason to be erring on the side of, hey, we're probably good, because we're not. So do that stuff. Do what we're doing right here. Do it via Zoom if they feel the need to have their contact with their neighbors.
John, do you have anything to add to that? If he's still there. John?
Yeah, there.
Okay.
So yeah, no, Anna said it well. I mean, the only thing I think, I mean, I've had patients who are in nursing homes or assisted livings. I'm talking mostly about elders, where family members who can't go in the facilities for understandable reasons because they're on lockdown are coming, and I picture, going to the elder loved ones coming to the balcony, and they're sort of waving at each other from a safe distance. That's about the only thing I think. And even that, you got to be cautious. But yeah, the circles of 10 or fewer, not a good idea.
I saw somebody who posted, a friend of mine on Facebook, and it was his daughter's birthday, and they had a number of people who all drove by. They drove down, so the daughter stood in the yard, and I think she was 6, and people drove by in a car and kind of honked and waved and held signs and stuff. And so they clearly all kept their distance, and they didn't gather, and it was momentary. So I mean, I think there are ways that that might be technically skirting anything, but nobody, the focus on, I know the mayor's focus, and I think everybody who's working in this, it's not, common sense is more important than the specifics of anything here. So don't try to come up with some tricky way to, I'm technically, in compliance, but look what we figured out how to do. I saw something, and it's really changed the way I focus on this. And it was just a meme that somebody's been sharing, but it was, don't think of this as if you're trying to, don't act as if you're trying to not get sick. Act as if you are sick and you were trying to protect everyone else from getting sick from you. And it's completely changed how I approach everything, from washing my hands to what I touch and what I sanitize when I'm in the grocery store or anywhere else. I think if I am, and because I could be, I don't feel sick, I don't think I'm sick, but I might be contagious right now. And if I act as if I am, I would never want to go up in a group of people I love and get 6 feet away and maybe infect them. So if we all think of that, think of how you want to connect to those people around you, but every moment think about how you are protecting those people. I think we'll see a lot better behavior. It's been understandable but frustrating to me how many people, you might have seen, I mean, we've started going out and we're having to remove basketball hoops and basketball backstops backboards, because I mean, gosh, I know it's something I normally would love, these groups of kids going out there and play, but man, we're putting them at risk, and we're putting their families at risk. So we're having to remove equipment, nets from things. You would be surprised at how adamant a lot of the pickleballers are that they should be able to play pickleball. And so we're taking down nets. I mean, we've locked facilities. We'll do whatever we can to keep you guys, keep everybody from out of those facilities and keep them safe.
Great. Thank you. I know we have a couple of our regular sponsors and booth goers that typically join us in person that are here with us, and had a few other things just to add to the conversation. Megan, can you kind of kick us off with that before we wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for being here today. I think we've had over 75 people, Sarah, not something like that showed up today. This is amazing. So glad to know that it's working. Also so happy to see all of your faces. I want to turn this over to Amanda and Jessica with American Waste. I know you guys have some information to share with us, so thank you. And thank you for being sponsors.
Absolutely. Well, it's so great to see people virtually. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Making sure. This is my first actual speaking Zoom meeting. I've been on a few, but I've never unmuted. So thank you. It's nice to talk to people. So American Waste Control, we offer single stream recycling. We also have a waste to energy landfill, and we also offer wood recycling processing as well. So this has been a really different time for us. We are seeing a lot of our friends that are in the service industry have to shut down their services, and we've been working with them through that. And so if any of you guys are our customers and you need some help during this time as far as decreasing your services or making some changes, we're here for you. We just want to remind you that during this time, you still have waste, you still have recycling, and we want to be your partner on that as well. So if you have any questions for us on any of our programs, if you're not doing that, we'd love to talk with you about that as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amanda. Now I want to turn it over to Graham with MET, the MET Recycling. Graham?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, I appreciate what Sustainable Tulsa is doing here, being a leader as always with this meeting. I think it's great. Also, I wanted to shout out to Ashley Bath. She was doing great with the chat. So she made Anna look even better with her timely chats. So that was really cool.
Absolutely.
I don't have a whole lot to say. I don't have a whole lot to say other than obviously we're all in this together. Our recycling centers, unfortunately, are closed right now, and because we have that we're tied with our actual service that's face to face, and we can't do that obviously right now, and we hand separate. So I'm glad that American Waste and TRT, Mr. Murph, is around. So that's an alternative, and their services there are still going. But as far as that goes, hopefully it won't be too long, but none of us know, but we're going to do whatever it takes to keep our workers safe. And as Anna was talking about, it's a back and forth thing, keeping the citizens safe too. So for now, we're trying to get off the ground with some of our education, virtual education. So Ali Kalnick's doing that, and keeping our operations as far as all the mundane administrative stuff going. But anything you can do to say how great we are to your elected officials is always appreciated, and tell them how you support us. And we'll be back when everything is safe to be so. And other than that, I just wanted to wish everybody the best, and know that we're thinking of you, and hopefully you're thinking of us. That's all I got.
Thank you, Graham. I really appreciate that. And then, Rick, I did not warn you, but we'd love to get an update on the Tulsa Zoo. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me and putting this on. This is great. Yeah, updates to Tulsa Zoo. Of course, we're closed to the public, and if you go to our website, I believe it's right when the website pops up, it'll have a link to talk about our emergency operation procedures and what we're doing to keep our staff safe who have to take care of the animals, because even though we're closed, we still have to feed the animals every day and take care of them. So there's a link there that you can click on for emergency fund requests. Things going smoothly. Like everyone else, we're just doing what we need to do to get by, and to put the animals first, and to keep the Tulsa Zoo a world-class facility despite the COVID-19.
Thank you, Rick. Really appreciate it. Carla Grog was not able to join us today, but I wanted to let you guys know that you were asking about plants and getting out and doing some things in your yard. Grog's Green Barn is open, and I know that they are doing some orders. You can call them. I know that they've been very, very busy, which is good to hear. So I believe you can also do some orders via email or online. So you can go to their website, grogsgreenbarn.com. And Corey, do you want me to ask these quick questions? I know we have like 1 minute left.
I think probably what we need to do is wrap up and kind of honor people's time and keep it at an hour here. I really just wanted to give Anna and John a chance to say a couple, if they had any closing comments for our members.
I did just two quick things. One, and I think it was on there, but if people didn't get it, my email, annaamerica@cityoftulsa.org. So feel free if there were questions or follow up or anything else to reach out to me directly. And I should have said earlier, I did want to second Graham's point, but I know most of you know Ashley Bath, who does marketing for parks. She is our green conscience and helps make us all not just better from a marketing standpoint, and she was a huge help to me today on working on this project, but just in general, she's been a great addition to the park staff, so I did want to give her a quick shout out. Thanks, Ashley, for everything you did for us.
Happy to be here. You know how much I love sustainable Tulsa.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. We do appreciate all your great posts for today. And I know there was a few other questions, so definitely check out all those links. We also will share this video within the next day or so, at least on our website and through social media, and the chats questions will be on there as well, so you can follow those links. And I know there were several questions, what the parks are specifically doing when it comes to COVID-19 protocols and procedures. And it looks like, Ashley, you posted something on that. Okay, that was one of those specific questions we saw there. But thank you. John, did you have any follow-up comments?
No, thanks for asking me to participate. I learned a lot from Anna, and I think, it was successful as the first virtual event. And stay well, everybody. Try to stay safe and stay apart.
Right. And wash your hands.
Stay together by staying apart, right?
Yes, exactly. Come together to stay apart.
There you go. Thank you all so much. Again, I want to thank our sponsors, which include PSO and PSO Wind Choice, Adamantium Energy, American Waste Control, Grog's Green Barn, Cavanta, the Met, One Oak, Save Our Streams, Spirit Air Systems, TCC, Center for Creativity. And I thank you all so much for joining us. We do want to hear from you if there's other things you want for us to share with you in the coming weeks, to keep you connected, to keep you updated, and the resources that you need. Do send us a note at info@sustainabletulsainc.org. You look for a new page that's going to be offering new resources and connection for you. We want you to continue on your path of sustainability and also feeling as good and as comfortable as you can in this time. Wash your hands. Sing happy birthday to somebody every day as you're washing your hands, and be safe and take care. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, John, so much for joining us today. Take care. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.